All right, so Butler denies any wrongdoing in Minnesota on Super Bowl week with a lengthy post on Instagram thanking the Pats organization. Stephen A., I'll start with you. How do you feel about this situation now that we've heard from him?
I'm even more disgusted. Listen, this is a man that's coming out. He's put himself on Front Street because essentially it's easy to refute the denials that he put forth. If he's lying about coming to practice late, if he's lying about tardiness, if he's lying about using weed or anything like that prior to the Super Bowl or anything of that nature, it could be easily refuted rather. So for him to come out publicly and defend himself, considering the storylines that have been circulating over the last 48 hours, I don't blame him one bit, and he's perfectly entitled to come to his own defense if erroneous reports are being put out there. But it also makes me even more disgusted at Bill Belichick because of the way he threw his own team under the bus. You're trying to win a Super Bowl. It's about having the best pieces of personnel out there. The Jordan Richards of the world, the Bodemosis of the world, and others didn't play like 25% or 26% of the snaps throughout the season. I think Bodemosi he wasn't even activated for the Titans game in the postseason and played about 8% of the snaps in the playoffs. Malcolm Butler played every snap of the Jacksonville game. He played every snap of the Tennessee Titans playoff game. He played in 15 of the 16 games this year. He's missed a grand total of one game over the last 3 years. To find out right before the Super Bowl that you're not playing is bad enough. But then once the heat piles up, and folks from Foxborough to Boston and beyond are looking at Bill Belichick, the great Bill Belichick, and they're saying, what the hell were you thinking? Why did you make this decision? Why do you not make this adjustment? Especially when you see Eric Rowe getting burnt or you see the Eagles moving the ball with such fluidity, compiling over 500 yards and 41 points of your defense. Why no adjustments? Why not put one of your better defensive players in the game? And then suddenly these reports start circulating about behavior, about tardiness, about potential drug use. I think it's as low as it gets. It smells to the high heavens. It stinks to the high heavens. And as far as I'm concerned, I would like there to be an investigation, Molly, so we could get to the bottom of exactly what Malcolm Butler actually is guilty of doing and of not doing. Because if Bill Belichick, that's why he said it was a football decision. It wasn't a disciplinary decision. But look at all of this stuff that's coming out.
To be clear, Belichick said a lot of things went into the decision.
Right.
Max?
Well, first, let me say, good for Malcolm Butler for defending himself, particularly if what he's saying is true, and I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Second, I never subscribed to the idea that it's because of disciplinary issues that he didn't play. And so, and by the way, we don't know if what reports are true, but good for Malcolm Butler for saying, wait a minute, this is my reputation you're talking about. I categorically deny these rumors and accusations, and this is me and my family. Good for you, Malcolm Butler. And by the way, he's an easy guy to root for, right? I mean, like, he came out of nowhere and did what he did in huge moments, etc. Bill Belichick, my contention always has been, he makes decisions based on one thing. What gives the Patriots the best chance to win that day? Particularly when that day, that game, is the Super Bowl. Now, they've been to 8 Super Bowls in 15 years. That is absurd in a salary cap, hard cap league with parity. That is just absurd that they've been to over half the Super Bowls in the last almost 2 decades, decade and a half. And they've won 5 of those 8. Also absurd, absurd. No one, you could talk about the Steelers in the late 70s. The league wasn't the same then, Stephen A., and it wasn't over a 15-year period. It's just amazing success. Now, in every one of those Super Bowls, it is also fair to say a single play could have changed the outcome. 1. The first 3 were decided by a field goal. They were 3-0. The next 5, they're 2-3, and a single play in any one of those 5. 2 against the Giants, against Seattle, against Atlanta, and now most recently against the Eagles. Any one of those 5, a single play could have changed the outcome. That means that you can say that about all 8 of the Super Bowls. Now, sports is a zero-sum game, right? The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. That's why we love it. But to say that the outcome alone, when we all know it's a one-play Super Bowl, all 8 of them, the outcome alone, whether the players execute, etc., is the difference between Bill Belichick is a villain and Bill Belichick is a genius, to me is ridiculous. The point is his philosophy of best chance to win today has resulted in the most successful franchise in modern football history. And so now to turn around and say if Butler would have been on the field, it would have been different. I think he's privy to more information than us, and Belichick deserves the benefit of the doubt.
I'm going to go to you and Molly on this.
I
think that's a very hold on, Molly. Hold on. I think that's a very disingenuous position that you took, Max. And here's why. I am not questioning anything about Bill Belichick based on a football decision. I'm questioning whether or not it was about football. And I'm saying to you that that's a problem for me, particularly if false stuff is being put out there about this guy. If we're just talking about Bill Belichick, a 5-time champion, and that's just as a head coach, we don't even bring into the equation his championships as a defensive coordinator. If we're just talking about a football decision that Bill Belichick made, and it's that simplistic, that's different. But if we're sitting there and we're saying, excuse me, you're not necessarily consistent. You might have let somebody off the hook while you brought the hammer down on this guy. And all of a sudden, reports are leaking out about his behavior prior to the Super Bowl and things of that nature. And this guy is categorically denying that there's any truth to those reports.
Stephen A., that's where you're wrong.
Not only did Malcolm Butler... Where am I wrong, Molly?
That's where you're wrong. I have the statement right in front of me. Yes, he denied that there was any wrongdoing Super Bowl week. He didn't break curfew. He didn't go to concerts. He was with his family every night. That was never the issue. He didn't fly with the team. They wanted to send a plane. He flew on his own. He came a day late. It was prior to Super Bowl. And it's not what he said, and this isn't a personal attack on Malcolm Butler. It's what he didn't say, and he didn't address any of that. And that was the concern, not Super Bowl week.
I'd like to also say something.
Hold on, Max. I need to respond directly to what Molly said. My position is very, very clear. We are aware. I wasn't wrong about a damn thing I said. We were fully aware that he missed the team plane. We also knew that he was sick and he came a day later. Yeah. What I'm saying is Bill Belichick said there's a multitude of things that went to it. Now, Bill Belichick may not have put out the reports or whatever, but do y'all not find it a tad bit odd, or dare I say convenient, that on in the aftermath of losing the Super Bowl, where everybody is pointing to that decision as having a profound effect on the outcome, we hear this stuff coming out?
I still believe it's more than football, but Max?
And I want to respond directly.
I'm not asking you what you believe and whether or not about football. I asked a direct question to you, Molly.
What?
I said to you, do you not find it a tad bit more than convenient that in the aftermath of losing the Super Bowl that this stuff will come out?
No, because I feel...
So you don't find that a problem at all?
No, I feel like this smelled from the jump, and I told you what I think it is. I think it was football. I think he got burned a couple times. His play fell off. He didn't have a good week in practice, wasn't doing well, and some behavioral thing happened prior, and that's why he pulled the plug, and I stand by that. And in his statement,
what about what we were talking about? What about what we on this show, on a national television show?
Yeah.
Did we not acknowledge reports talking about tardiness and the potential use of weed and stuff? Was that not thrown out there?
Wait a minute. Now I need to respond to that, Stephen A. First of all, directly to what you said. Nothing. Let me be very clear about this. Nothing I say on this show is disingenuous. I tell you exactly how I feel and what I think and lay it out. Let me get that out of the way. Second, when you, Stephen A., say that Bill Belichick is or imply, or I infer from what you're saying at least, that Bill Belichick is making decisions based on things other than football play on the field. It is, in fact, you who are giving weight to the rumors about behavioral issues. You're basing that on the assumption that there's something that Belichick saw other than football. What I'm saying is what Belichick said. He's not responsible for the rumors as far as we know. You may surmise maybe he is, but as far as we know, and no one has said on this show, that Belichick is responsible for the rumors. What Belichick has said when asked directly was many factors went into his decision. Now, I said yesterday on this show, the reason, when asked, he won't tell you specifically what factors is because why should the greatest coach of all time give the rest of us fools his secret sauce? He doesn't do that. He never
Go ahead,
does.
Molly.
I think the other thing, back to what you said, back
to
the subject that you brought up, the weed and certain claims that were untrue. Yes, that's egregious, it's wrong, and it's not fair to do that to anybody. But that's never what I was piling on. I was talking about the prior and the stuff that he hasn't defended.
What I'm saying is this. I've been covering sports for 25 years. Do you know how many black athletes I can line up?
I've been covering it for 11. Okay, keep going.
I can sit up there. You can dismiss what I'm saying you want to. You didn't even hear my serious point here, but that's okay. What I'm saying is this. I can line up. There's not enough room on the campus of ESPN, which is a monolith. There's not enough room for me to line up the black athletes that or suddenly have been let go or something has happened to them. They come to their own defense or people come to their defenses and we find out that stuff has been put out there about them to justify the ill treatment that they have received. So what I'm saying is that when we talked about Malcolm Butler, y'all can sit up there and talk about football, and y'all deserve credit for that because y'all are saying it's just a football decision. I'm saying it makes no sense that it was just a football decision based on Malcolm Butler's production and history, and that's where we have a divide. But let's not act like this story hasn't elevated to a point where we have to look at a guy that has to come on Twitter or anywhere else that he goes to defend his character because of a decision that a lot of people in America thinks was ill-advised by Bill Belichick this past Sunday evening.
Now we're getting somewhere. Now it's all explicit. I agree, Stephen A., that frequently throughout the history of American team sports, disproportionately, when it is a black athlete, an African-American athlete, there is stuff that's out there and oftentimes assumptions made about bad behavior, and that athlete is painted as a thug. That word is tossed around about African-American athletes, and it is very important that we are conscious of that issue. And if that's what you're getting at, you just made that explicit, that is a good point. The question is, does that apply here? If anyone comes to the table with preconceived ideas where they are more likely to think that it's bad behavior as it relates to Malcolm Butler and not even realize maybe that it's because he's African American, that they are easily led into that assumption.
That ain't me.
But I will say this. Good for Malcolm Butler for coming out and say Molly's not, she's not making those assumptions. Good for Molly.
Okay.
Good for Malcolm Butler for coming out and defending his name. That's precisely what he should do. And good for you, Stephen A., for bringing up that issue. The question is, as Molly just points out, does that apply here? In other words, was he being painted on this show with that brush? I said
he was never painted that way on this show.
Right.
What I'm saying is it becomes applicable because in the aftermath of the decision was where these reports came out. If Malcolm Butler was doing all of this stuff, that stuff would have been said. That stuff would have been talked about the week leading up to the game. It would have been talked about during the game. It would have been talked about pregame. It would have been talked about post-game. Why all of a sudden we're hearing all of this stuff that was going on? He had to categorically deny it. His former teammates came to his defense. Tom Brady liked his tweet.
Well, Stephen A., it was like a goodbye letter. It basically sounded like he's done with the franchise. That's what it sounded like to me. So, of course, Tom Brady's going to say, he was a great teammate all along. He's a class act.
I can't help you.
I'm being yelled at that we have to.
I can't help you. I can't help you.
I do understand what you're saying as far as the African-American stance on it, but I'm telling you that is not my stance on it. We have to go to break, unfortunately. I wish we had more time. Coming up, gentlemen, LeBron and the Cavs are struggling big time. So who is the team to beat in the East? The guys will weigh in. And the Lakers front office says they will wait a year before going after big free agents. Do the fellas believe them? That's later.